time, mankind has always been drawn to the things, places, and legends that live in the darkest of shadows. Places outside our reach and living in the far corners of our own minds. Mysteries are the fuel that keeps us exploring, blazing new trails and attempting to unlock life's biggest questions. Join us as we peek inside Pandora's box, unlocking history, controversy, and the universe's most baffling questions, while we dig deep into the secret vaults of epic mysteries.
Welcome to this special groundbreaking edition of Epic Mysteries. I'm your host, Bethany Woodruff, and today we will be exploring one of the world's most iconic, or should I say epic, mysteries the world has ever known. All around the world, people on nearly every continent have reported sightings of gigantic, hairy beasts roaming the forests and mountainous regions outside of civilization. From Australia to China, the jungles of the Amazon to the Pacific Northwest of the United States. This mysterious creature is best known to many as Bigfoot, but goes by many other names around the world. Is this more than a legend? Could this creature simply be an undiscovered primate species living in the unexplored margins of our modern world? With so many people from different cultural, religious, and economic backgrounds reporting seeing a similar creature worldwide, what are the chances this is all based on misidentifications of known animals? What are the chances this species is actually real? Today we are going to take an unprecedented look into the history, stories, and scientific evidence behind this worldwide phenomenon. We will explore the stories, the clues it leaves behind, and we will talk to experts who have dedicated their lives to studying the creature. Before we begin, let's start out by asking one specific question. What exactly is Bigfoot?
There have been countless tales going back through history of a giant, hairy creature that appears half man and half ape. These creatures have been reported to exist in various parts of the world for many centuries. In fact, there is only one continent that does not have tales of wild men, and that is Antarctica. In the Himalayas, it's the Yeti, or abominable snowman. In Canada, it's mainly known as the Sasquatch. And in the United States, and most of the world over, it's Bigfoot. Bigfoot is described by witnesses and believers as being between 6 and 8 feet tall, with a large forehead and pronounced brow, and a rounded head shaped like a gorilla's. The creature is covered in dark to light brown or red hair and has large feet which have become his namesake.
Scientist Jeff Meldrum and leading field researcher Cliff Barackman have focused research on the creature for the greater parts of their careers.
My name is Dr. Jeff Meldrum. I'm a professor of anatomy and anthropology at Idaho State University. I teach human gross anatomy, primatology, and evolution. My research focuses on the evolution of human bipedalism, those adaptations we exhibit for walking on two legs. Well, there certainly are a variety of ideas or interpretations as to what this creature might actually be, and they span a wide range from shape-shifting, interdimensional, time-traveling alien to some sort of a bipedal grade ape. And there are various possibilities in between there. The two hypotheses that I'm most comfortable with at this point are centered on two possible ancestral forms. One is Gigantopithecus, a giant ape that lived during the Pleistocene between about 1.5 million to about 300,000 years ago. In Gigantopithecus, you have a creature that's the right size in the right place at the right time to be a potential ancestor.
I'm Cliff Barackman. I'm one of the 4 co-hosts of Finding Bigfoot on Animal Planet, but that's kind of almost beside the point with me because I'm a Bigfooter, and I've been a Bigfooter for over 20 years.
People often ask me, so Sasquatches, are they a missing link? Are they apes? Are they humans? What are they? And my answer is they are Sasquatches. They are not human beings. They're similar to us, but they're not us. They're 8 feet tall and covered in hair. Are they an ape? Well, kind of. They're hominoids, certainly, but they're not like the other apes. They're not pungids, they're not gorillas, they're not chimpanzees. Those are very, very different creatures. They're Sasquatches. And in my opinion, they shouldn't be put on that this or that, apes or humans thing, because they're neither.
My name is Larry Correa. I'm the author of the Monster Hunter International series for Baen Books. My personal guess would be that he would be some sort of gigantopithecine kind of undiscovered species of great ape, distant cousin to mankind. That's my best guess. I have no clue, scientifically speaking, but I think that sounds like the most reasonable thing.
My name is Ben Hansen. I host a show on the Sci-Fi Channel called Fact or Fake Paranormal Files. We're pretty much, as a consensus, talking about a creature that does apparently eat, breathe, sleep. But then we have this other camp that says, well, it's as if it just disappears and comes and goes as it wants to. All I know is that people are reporting this. They continue to report it, and a lot of reports are very credible. They're not easily dismissed as some other type of animal, and something is going on.
But where did the legend of Bigfoot start? And what exactly are these creatures, if they do exist?
Early in the 1920s, a man by the name of J.W. Burns compiled all the local legends for a series for a Canadian newspaper, unknowingly coining the term Sasquatch in the process. It wasn't until 1958 that the Bigfoot legend really started to kick off in the United States. That year, a man named Gerald Crew found a set of large footprints at a construction site where he worked in California. He had his friend make plaster casts of the prints. The story gained a lot of attention after being published in the Humboldt Times and was picked up by the Associated Press, drawing international attention.
They're just all over the place. I mean, anybody who's got a forest has a legend of a wild man that lives in it.
Scientific theory says this species is classified as hominids, defined as upright bipedal mammals, similar to humans and primates. We know they have been reported numerous times throughout modern history, but what exactly do they look like?
Sasquatches are very human-like in appearance with some slight differences. They are generally human-sized, although often much larger. And of course, there's a wide variety of genetic differences there. There's a huge genetic variance, just like in humans. They are generally covered totally in hair, except for the palms and the bottom of their feet. They have a little less hair here, according to the photographs that I've seen. They're lacking hair in some parts of the face. They tend to have very, very broad shoulders, very, very barrel-like bodies, but not always. I know of several very credible eyewitnesses that saw very sleek basketball player-shaped Sasquatches as well. They're not all like linebackers, and this should be expected, like I said, because they have a huge genetic variance.
You got to accentuate the massiveness of it. Like I'm a big guy. I'm 6'5", 300 pounds, and this is a thing that towers over me. It dwarfs me, and we're talking a chest as big around as two people. Giant, watermelon-sized biceps. We're talking an animal that could twist your head off in his giant, meaty hands. I mean, this is something that could run down a deer because his strides are like 7 or 8 feet. I mean, so how much power something like that would have? I mean, it's kind of a terrifying animal. This is one of the reasons I think that it's kind of glommed onto people's imaginations.
Eyewitness accounts often are somewhat varied. Naturally, there's a certain degree of variation in the appearance of any species of animal, and especially a primate that has more developed muscles of facial expression and more variation in some of the features of the face, the nose, the lips, the lids, size and shape of the ears, and so forth. Sometimes there is a tendency to think of Sasquatch as a monster, as a lone individual roaming around frightening people, and so you get depictions that are much more monstrous. What I find interesting is in the credible reports, much of those monster trappings are absent. The point is there is very little credible evidence to suggest that this creature is anything but a large primate, a large hominoid, that is, and whether it's more ape-like or more human-like, that's the only question that remains to be determined.
For the first time, Epic Mysteries brings you a true television breakthrough in the study. we will show you a detailed 4K ultra-high definition rendering of the elusive creature as research has projected Bigfoot to look.
What you are seeing is a detailed recreation of what a Bigfoot really looks like. Epic Mysteries has worked with leading Bigfoot investigators, eyewitness accounts, and known anatomical features found in similar species to bring you this exclusive example. Most experts and witnesses describe Bigfoot as being between 6.5 and 10 feet tall, while appearing to weigh between 500 and 900 pounds. The face is often described as human-like, but long and flat, with a pronounced brow and more bulbous nose, accentuated by large jaw muscles and wide mouth. At night, those who have encountered Bigfoot claim its eyes glow with a reflective red color. During the day, the eyes appear large and piercing, with a brown coloration noted most frequently. Although descriptions vary, you are seeing one of the most detailed renderings of what Bigfoot could possibly look like available today.
Cryptozoology, the study of hidden animals, concerns itself with animals whose existence has not yet been recognized by mainstream science. However, many animals widely recognized today were once thought of as legends or cryptids, often dismissed by science as products of folklore, imagination, or deception.
One notable example of a cryptid proven real is the giant squid. Tales of enormous squids have circulated throughout the world since ancient times. Even the great Greek philosopher Aristotle described in detail such a creature. Perhaps the most famous legendary squid is the Norse kraken, a monstrous tentacled beast as large as an island that devoured ships whole. Up until the 19th century, scientific opinions referred to such creatures as nothing more than ridiculous myths, on par with mermaids or sea serpents. Danish zoologist Johan Haputus Strinse methodically researched and cataloged giant squid sightings and strandings, eventually examining a breached corpse and designing the beast's scientific name, Archaeoteuthis. Even so, fellow scientists remained skeptical and continued to dismiss accounts. Now the giant squid is recognized worldwide as a species that does in fact exist. In addition to the giant squid, there have been many other cryptic creatures proven real over the last 100 years, such as the African unicorn, or okapi, the Komodo dragon, and the Hone Kim turtle, all now identified legitimate species formerly thought to be folklore.
Whether or not Bigfoot as a species exists, there are still so many questions left to answer. If they do exist, why have we not made contact? And what makes them so elusive? Do they possess skills beyond our comprehension, such as interdimensional travel, or do they simply camouflage themselves from the world in remote places?
If you're a deer hunter or something of that nature, and you get out there and you really get into the backwoods and you realize you're seeing a view that you don't know the last time a human being has seen this view, or if ever. And you talk to people who are, they work out in the wilderness. This is truly a vast place. People who live in the cities and suburbs of America don't really realize how large America is and how many vast open spaces there are without any people at all. It's truly a giant place.
Either way, Bigfoot says a lot about us, the human species. How much do we really understand the world around us, and why is it so easy for us to simply close our minds to the possibility of these things? History has told us over and over again, what we believe can change. How would your life change if tomorrow you turned on the news and a legitimate body was discovered, proving that Bigfoot does exist? In a way, for most people, it's terrifying, as it goes to the root of their fears. If proven real, it opens the door they do not want to open. If Bigfoot exists, what else could really be out there?
Now, if one day somebody finds a smoking gun, they bring in the body, okay, whether dead or alive, and they can produce a Bigfoot that can be verified, that's a game changer. I mean, obviously, I think people are going to rethink everything that they've thought about. Not only the cryptozoology, but all these other kind of a myriad of phenomena that we can't easily explain just because you hear the naysayers say there's no hard physical evidence. We don't have this, we don't have that. Well, the absence of evidence is not evidence of absence.
Eventually, Sasquatches will be a proven species because that level of definitive proof will have been brought in. The effects that I think that will have, of course, it's all speculation, but there will be an immediate media frenzy, and everybody will be interested in it for a while, I think. But in my opinion, it'll eventually just kind of settle down once everybody realizes that Bigfoots are a perfectly normal species of creature that lives here in North America. I do think that laws will immediately be put on the books to protect them until a thorough ecological study can be done. And knowing the nature of this beast, that's going to be probably a decade, because they're extremely elusive. They're extremely rare. They live in places people don't generally go. And they're not going to be any easier to get close to after discovery than they are now. So that will cause some damage to the economy of the Pacific Northwest and other areas. Think of the effect that the spotted owl had on the Pacific Northwest economy. Think of the effect that the snail darter fish had on dams, these places where there's a lot of logging going on outside the Pacific Northwest. A lot of that logging and road building and dam building and just infrastructure building will have to come to a stop, at least for a little while.
Many people have expressed concern over the consequences of the discovery. What would it mean for the forest industry, for example? What would it mean for our own perceptions of our own position vis-a-vis the rest of nature, of other animals? I think there certainly will be tremendous impacts. I think one has to look at something like the discovery of the gorilla for a pattern. I mean, this had implications given the man-like nature of this creature at a time when it was thought that there were no discoveries left to be made in natural history, in biology. And yet it was accommodated, it was recognized for what it was, and we moved on. It will enliven the conversation about many different topics too. It will be one of those seminal moments when we're reminded very starkly that we don't have the answers to every question. It will have repercussions, it will have a ripple effect, but life will go on.
I don't know how it would change the world, but one thing about having the mystery out there is, people, we need mystery. And so part of me kind of hopes that they don't answer it. Because, we need that mystery. We need to believe in something out there. We need to believe in something else different and extra and more. So part of me kind of hopes that we don't know.
Creatures thought to only live in our imaginations and legend have been proven to exist in science. So why is believing in the possible existence of Bigfoot so laughable to most people? Studies show most Bigfoot witnesses feel they would be ridiculed or their name and reputation tarnished if they came forward with their stories. Some of these people being police officers, wildlife officials, and others. These people are not drunk fishermen sitting beside a creek seeing a hairy creature. They are credible professionals, too ashamed to discuss what they believe they witnessed.
I work for the National Forest Service. Let's just leave it at that. I get asked a lot about Bigfoot and whether I believe whether I believe he's real, whether I've seen anything, and even if I did know anything, it's nothing that I'd be willing to jeopardize my job over. The nature of this job is such that if I was to reinforce something like Bigfoot, which isn't necessarily accepted by the general public, I might lose a little bit of credibility. With that being said, do I believe in Bigfoot? Do I believe he's real? I want to.
Well, the subject of a potential relic hominoid here in our own backyard, another bipedal primate, is one that naturally is of tremendous interest to me and dovetails very nicely with my regular research program. However, it has carried with it a lot of baggage and a lot of prejudice and misconception has has followed in the wake of my involvement with this subject matter. By no means is this received by all of my colleagues enthusiastically. In many instances, quite the contrary.
I was driving home to see my family one time. I decided to drive. Plane tickets were just too expensive, so I'm driving and I think I took a wrong turn and I was getting on these really weird roads and there wasn't anyone else driving, so I pulled over on my phone to check where I was, and all of a sudden I got this really eerie feeling that I was being watched. So I start looking out the windows of my Jeep and all of a sudden I see something, and at first I thought it was a man, but then I noticed how hairy he was, and then he was bigger, and the eyes looked very, very similar to human eyes, but they were a little bit different than humans. Bigger facial features, a bigger brow, very rough, wrinkly skin, covered in long, matted hair, and it creeped me out so bad. I just threw the car back into drive and I took off, and as soon as I got to where I had service, I called my mom.
Well, certainly the stigma attached to this subject has limited the serious consideration by the scientific community, and of course have stood in the way of conventional pathways of funding and facilitating research in this area. Colleagues are reluctant to embark, especially young colleagues, prior to receiving tenure and promotion, for fear of recrimination, repercussions that would stand in the way of their career advancement, their credibility and standing in the discipline. There are those who are enthusiastic supporters who are very interested, curious about this question, see it as an important scientific question to pursue. And then there are those who have, I can only describe as a visceral rejection of this issue.
I have a friend who was a sheriff's deputy down in Virginia, and he had an experience that was one of the more interesting Bigfoot stories I heard, because he's a reliable kind of guy, not the kind of person prone to exaggeration or telling wild stories or lying or anything like that. But he got a call, and they went out and they checked it out, him and his partner, and they saw something that was gigantic, and it wasn't a bear, and it wasn't a moose, and it was, they're in Virginia, obviously it was a moose, but it's huge, hulking, man-shaped thing, way too large to be a guy going through the forest. And you get stories like that from reliable people, and it makes you wonder, could there actually be something like that out there?
I've been in the forest a lot, I've been hunting my whole life, and I felt something there. Something just wasn't right. And so I was kind of looking over my shoulder, and I don't know what exactly I was seeing. I mean, I guess I saw Bigfoot, I mean, I'm a family guy. I don't go around telling everybody I've seen Bigfoot, but it was a hairy creature, and I mean, it was bigger than a man. It was huge. I don't know exactly what it was, but because something's out there. I mean, I don't know what it is, but something's out there, and people need to know about it.
Whether or not Bigfoot is ever scientifically proven to be real, he already exists alive and well in our culture. From comic books to video games, movies to beef jerky products, our fascination with Bigfoot as a cultural icon will never die.
It has become incorporated into so much of our commercial and media culture. One time I did a presentation for a local chamber of commerce on this subject, and all one has to do is Google Sasquatch Bigfoot logo mascot, and it is just amazing the number of endorsements Bigfoot has made.
He's exciting. He's interesting. Bigfoot is cool. He's mysterious. That's why he's an icon, is because people want to believe in this big, awesome thing. And if he's out there, that means he's smart. And if he's smart, he's cool. He's powerful. He's just this big, groovy animal. I mean, so how could you not love Bigfoot?
Bigfoots represent something to humans that I think is part of what we're afraid of about ourselves. Because when you think about monsters, something big, tall, hairy, unknown, in the dark, whatever, that's Bigfoot. Now, the joke is Bigfoots are peaceful and shy and reclusive and don't want anything to do with us, and they're extremely intelligent and curious and all these things. But for most people, especially the people nice and safe and sound in the middle of Los Angeles or any other paved area, Bigfoots represent something much more mysterious and scary for us. And I think that's part of the draw with children, at least. That's what kept me going when I was very young with Bigfoots. The monster side of it, as in the Godzilla and Bigfoot, because Bigfoot was a monster. As it turns out, we're the monsters. They say that the meek shall inherit the earth. Well, once we destroy ourselves, they're still going to be here. And I think that really says more about the species, ours and theirs, than anything else.
We have looked into the science, the stories, and the psychology behind our fascination with Bigfoot. Now, as always, the last question is up to you. Do you believe they could be somewhere out there, in the fern-covered woods, far from any road or trail, high in the mountains where few humans have ventured, or deep in the swamp that boats cannot penetrate? Do you believe Bigfoot exists? Or does the creature only live in spirit, just as another legend?